So let's get the thoughts of economist Laurie Laird. Laurie, thank you for joining us.
Carolina.
Laurie, President Trump and Jerome Powell have clashed for some time now. Can you explain the relationship and why tensions have escalated to this point?
Well, this is they've been clashing in that Donald Trump for the past, years now, but particularly in the first year of his second term, has been on Jerome Powell for not reducing interest rates more quickly. Donald Trump, it's sort of a paradoxical argument that Donald Trump makes, because how many times have you heard him say, we're the hottest economy in the world. We were a dead economy a year ago. Now we're the hottest economy in the world. Typically, hot economies do not need lower interest rates. A hot economy tends to need higher interest rates. So the argument that the U.S. economy needs juicing, there doesn't seem to be data behind that. Donald Trump would like to see lower interest rates to spur housing activity. He'd like the interest rate on the borrowing that the U.S. undergoes to be a little bit lower. So that's why he wants interest rates lower. And he has been hammering Jerome Powell since pretty much the day he took office. As for the word clash, I'd say this is the first time that two men have clashed. The vehemence of that statement that you and I just watched from Jerome Powell surprised me a little bit. He really has not responded in the past to these criticisms that Donald Trump has leveled at him. And some of them have been personal, that Jerome Powell isn't very bright, that he's a numbskull. Powell has not said very much. This is the first time that he's fought back, and it's a little bit unusual because he now is under a criminal investigation, and that's typically when people go quiet, when things go legal. But the root of the clash is that Donald Trump wants lower interest rates, like many political leaders. Jerome Powell doesn't want to give him lower interest rates, thinks that the economy doesn't need that right now.
And Jerome Powell is reportedly under criminal investigation over this $2.5 billion Fed headquarters renovation in Washington, D.C. Powell is calling this a pretext. What's the latest on this probe, and why are critics of this renovation concerned here, Laurie?
I mean, it does to me feel like a pretext. Again, Donald Trump has been calling for lower interest rates for a year, and so persistently. So this does feel like, how can we get this guy out? Okay, let's accuse him of not just overrunning on costs for renovation, but what the criminal element could be, or the criminal allegation is that Powell did not tell the truth when testifying before Congress on the nature of the renovation. So what they're trying to investigate is whether he misled Congress. If that were to be proven, that could be a criminal act. We're a long way from that. As for the overrun, this project it's a $2.5 billion renovation. And if you break that down per square footage, it is quite a bigger project than a lot of the renovations we've seen over the past 5 or 6 years. The projected overrun seems to be greater than what is historically the case. I mean, look, we always see building overruns. This one seems a bit worse. But you got to keep in mind, this building was built in 1937 and has undergone almost no renovation since then. So the fact that the costs are a little higher than what we've seen before isn't entirely surprising, and probably isn't indicative of criminal action.
They probably needed these renovations urgently. So how unusual. We did hear Jerome Powell saying that this is unprecedented action. So how unprecedented is it for a sitting Fed chair to face this criminal probe? And is there a broader pattern here of officials who clash with Donald Trump that are later facing legal scrutiny?
It's a great question, and certainly this does seem to be part of a pattern. When people do not do Trump's bidding, he tends to use the justice system against that person. You asked earlier, why now? Why is he going after Powell now? And that's an interesting question. Jerome Powell's term as chair of the Federal Reserve ends in May. Donald Trump has said that he has selected a successor. He just hasn't told us the name of that person yet. So Powell will not be leading the Fed for all that much longer. Just 3 more meetings before he goes. He does have the ability to stay on the board of governors for another 2 years. So he'll stop being the head, but he can still vote on interest rates. But here's the key: 12 people vote on interest rates. So even if you were to get rid of Powell, get him off the board, there's no guarantee that the other 11 people, even if they are led by a Trump-friendly appointee, there's no guarantee that those other 11 are going to vote for lower interest rates or vote for interest rates, the massive reduction that Donald Trump thinks the U.S. needs. I mean, Donald Trump has said he wants to see interest rates a full 3 percentage points lower than where they are now. Now, keep in mind, inflation is still close to 3% a year. That's well above the Fed's 2% target, which is one reason the Fed is a little bit reluctant to cut rates aggressively. But the timing doesn't make a whole lot of sense, given that Jerome Powell is in his late 70s, coming toward the end of his career.
And shortly, for our final question, you led us to this question, Laurie. Jerome Powell's term does end in May, as you just said. So who are the front runners for this job?
Yeah, excellent question. And again, Trump said he's identified the person. The top betting is a guy called Kevin Hassett, who's actually a couple of years ahead of me at university. Believe me, never saw that he was going to be a Trump disciple. But he has been rolled out quite frequently in front of the television cameras to do Trump's bidding. He's thought of as a very reliable ally of Trump. He seems to be the front runner. That said, if the betting markets are correct, I'm a little surprised Trump hasn't named him before that. Another guy called Kevin Warsh, who's also very Trump-friendly, seems to be in the running. And the guy that the markets really like is already on the board of governors. He's called Christopher Waller, has been mentioned as a possibility. The markets really like him, think that he has a bit more independence than the two Kevins.
Laurie Laird, thank you so much for your perspective and analysis.